Every patch of grass has the potential to become a skyscraper. All it needs is to be put under construction. Welcome back to yet another episode of Under Construction SA. I am your host, Thuso Motsomane. And if you haven't subscribed to the Under Construction SA, please go down there and click on that subscription button, like, and click up there on that notification button that every time when we drop an episode, you are notified. So guys, today it's a very special episode. We have two people, they have two great people that believe in the future. They're going to be mega stars. They're going to take Africa and the world by storm, and namely Lehohonolo and Ted. And I want to start with Lehohonolo to tell us where are you coming from and what do you do?
Hi guys, my name is Lehohonolo. I'm originally from Jericho, but grew up here in the lovely Pretoria. I am a model, influencer, and pretty much so much more. I don't like putting myself in a box because I move as a brand, but it's lovely to actually be here right now and to be hosted by you guys. I can't wait to proceed with this because fortunately, it's been a long time coming actually getting here, but lovely to be here.
I like the word that you use, the keyword brand. It's going to be an interesting episode. Ted.
Hey, how's it, Under Construction family? My name is Katlego Ted Phepheng. These are all my true names. Ted is actually my middle name. I know Thuso likes debating about the name, though. I think it's because Thuso doesn't have an English name. It's all Tswana names. I'm sorry, bro. But anyway, I am a businessman and an aspiring, youth pastor in the making. Or I don't know, am I in the making or whatever? Yeah, but yeah. So I'm a businessman and a youth pastor. Looking forward for better things and greater things that God has said He has in store for us as a youth ministry. Yeah, whoa.
Wow. It's amazing, guys. Today you can see we have a youth pastor / businessman, and we have a brand. And speaking about brands, I want you to break down the word brand. Explain to someone that doesn't know. What do you mean when you say you are a brand you don't want to box yourself in? Can you please explain that to us?
In terms of brand, from my perspective, because obviously everyone has their own opinion, depending on what field they're in or whatever it is they do or how they move. From what I see it, so I'm an influencer, and including a model and a content creator. But in the same breath, I see myself in such a way that I don't want to box myself. If I was to be approached for an acting gig, I'm your guy, of course. I will obviously do my best. But in terms of brand, when I speak about a brand, I speak about a person who stands for something and has an initiative that they follow and, a motto and a goal. And everything that they're obviously working towards somewhat revolves around it. And that's usually when their character obviously falls on top, brightens it up even more. And usually in most cases, people fall in love with people out there on social media or wherever based on their character, and their character becomes a brand. You find a person's a dancer and they've got a great personality, and that is what they do best. But at the same time, like I did say, no one should be boxed. Anyone can do anything out here. I hope that description somewhat helps.
Yeah, it somewhat helps. At the end of the day, what I'm getting is the same, like, no one should be boxed. You don't want to, like, you had to repeat that. You don't want to be boxed in. Like, for you, that's the only thing that's important. Like, whatever you do, don't box me in as a businessman, as an influencer, or as a model, which we're still going to go into. Ted, because what people don't know, you are from Botswana. For someone who has not been in Botswana, can you please give us a picture of how is it, what is the culture, how does Botswana look like? What kind of country is Botswana?
Botswana is a beautiful country, man. We are very peaceful, and it's quite a very safe, environment that we have here in Botswana. Laid back, full of passionate young people, making moves every single day, entrepreneurs, businessmen, and everything. And it's actually hot here. It's hotter than South Africa. It's very hot, and it gets very cold during the winter season. So yeah, man. In a nutshell, Botswana is a good country, very beautiful people, well cultured. You know, I'm selling my country. Come on. You know, I think one thing that really actually stands out about Botswana is our beef. Whoa! It's our beef. Our beef. You know what? Our beef and the security.
Okay.
Yeah. We have like security here. You don't walk. Literally, you can walk out with your phone, talking to it, and nobody can actually bother you in the city. So yeah.
Wow.
That's Botswana for you.
What
man.
I'm getting is, you guys, it's like what you get in an estate in South Africa. And secondly, because the hottest part of South Africa is Limpopo. So you basically live in Limpopo. That's what you're saying. That's Limpopo. If you're from South Africa, you'd be living in Limpopo. So
yeah,
I want to ask you, maybe Lehohonolo, how did you get into, because I want to focus mainly on your modeling. That's what I'm interested in. How do you get into modeling and, okay, obviously, let me say influencing, being an influencer?
How did I get into being a model and being an influencer? This was such a while ago. I'm so sorry. I keep looking at my girlfriend and I'm just a bit distracted. Sorry. How did I get into becoming a model and an influencer? You know, this actually all dates back a long time ago. I think sometime in 2015. I remember one of our church members was like, "You should be a model," and I was like, "What? Me? Come on, bro." And he was like, "Let me photograph you." Yo, we had a photo shoot. Pictures were so terrible, I won't lie. But it actually, you know, it woke something up inside of me. And from there on, I fell in love. Ever since then, I started surrounding myself with influencers. I started doing more research. I was just more curious than most people. And I rolled around with a lot of peers who are obviously within that world. And I started somewhat engulfing my entire world in modeling. So that's how I obviously got to rub shoulders with certain brands, luckily. But it took a while to get to that point, to be honest with you. It's just so crazy at the beginning. You can never really see what you're gonna get, but you just keep going.
Wow.
You don't even know what to expect, but you just keep going. And I just love the concept of just putting work into something and, you know, getting somewhere with it. It's all about passion at the end of the day.
I like what you're highlighting. I think you highlighted passion, hard work, because you spoke about research and stuff like that. I think when a normal person like me thinks of modeling, doesn't think about research, you know, they just think you just show up and be in front of a camera. And by the way, guys, when he says rubbing shoulders with big brands, these are the likes of Motsomane, former Miss South Africa. So that's the level. So when he's humble about it, but the kind of people that follow him are really, really big people here in South Africa. But I like the fact that you highlighted the research part, because I don't think we ever think of you guys as people who work hard. We just think about, you just walk up in front of the camera and you do magic. I like that part that you highlighted. Going to Ted, I think you should, the same thing. How do you get into business / pastoring or pastoring?
I always knew that I would be a pastor, I think, at the age of 14. I just didn't have an idea of what kind of pastor would I be. So the journey started then. I was just passionate about young people. You know, I used to pray a lot for youths, you know, and the journey has been exciting. And prior to that, prior to being saved and having kind of like idea of having a call, I always sold something, you know. I always had a way of selling. So I was like, the kind of type of kid who would find a sack of oranges and tell my mom, please buy me these oranges, and then I'm gonna make money out of them. So I always sold at school. I remember one time teachers called my grandma when I was staying with my grandma at one point, called her to school to say they caught me selling, sweet reed. There's this thing called sweet reed. It's almost like sugar cane. Yeah, it's here in Botswana. So I was selling sweet reed at that time, making extra cash. So I thank God in his humor, took me, from full-time being a businessman and made me a pastor. But what I like about God is that he doesn't, take you out of exactly what you're passionate about. He would use the same in his kingdom as well, because he's the one actually who gave you the passion to have like the passion to be in business. So the passion to actually be in business started as a little kid, and then me realizing that I'm actually called came when I was 13, 14. So I've been pursuing both, but recently I've been doing much on like being a pastor. And, I just completed my diploma in RBI there in South Africa. And I came home. When I came home, I resumed my business, career. So yeah, man, it's actually a lot of work. As I'm speaking to you now, I'm tired because I've been working the whole day. And yeah, sure. Sure. So I don't even know, like, I think this is when I think I need a wife, guys. You must pray for me. Somebody needs to help me, man. I'm tired.
Can I actually add something? When you were actually explaining just now, you just took me back. When I was in primary, I used to sell sweets out of a little cooler box thingy. I would take it to school almost every day. I think I sold sweets for a good 2 years in primary. And it's a memory that I haven't accessed in so many years. Yeah, so when you said that, I just remembered. And it's something that I've never actually even like told people, but I used to sell sweets in primary. And I remember the extra change and the money used to help at home. That was a crazy part.
Man. You know what? I believe everybody is a businessman. Everyone is a businessman. Just look at, everybody. I mean, you just mentioned now. Thuso, I think you have also a memory of yourself when you were a kid being in business or selling something or wanting to start something. So that thing, I think it's actually in everyone. It's just that we have not really took time to explore it to that, depth that actually God would actually want us to.
Yeah, it's crazy how everyone started this thing at a young age. And it reminds me of a story because there was a time in my life, guys, it was very tough. And I remember I was watching Trending SA because I've always loved TV shows, whether it's Anele, even radio, whether it's Season Scoop, whether it's Trending SA. And I remember I think they had Billy Silikani. I'm not sure about the saying. If I'm butchering it, I'm sorry, sir. So he said something so profound. He said, go back to when things were flowing. You were young and things were flowing. He spoke about a helicopter view. And I went back to when I was in primary school, because that's when I was doing the most. Like my grades were up, everything was up. I was not even struggling because now it's a mess. I don't even know who I am. My confidence was very low. And when I went back, I noticed something about myself that irregardless of me passing, one thing that I was always in trouble for was talking too much or standing up in class. They always beat me up for that. So I got to figure out, so I talk too much. So everything that I have to do, then that's when I can be a motivational speaker. I can be a presenter. Like that's when I started figuring out myself. And I like going, I can travel and stuff like that. That's where my pastoring comes in, where I love being out with people. I love going and getting people to come to church and stuff like that. And it's really interesting how all of us, it didn't start when you were old. It's like when you were young. And I think it's speaking to someone to say, when you were young, you know, what were the things that you were good at? That is probably the thing that you're supposed to be doing right now. So speaking about being young, when going back again, Lehohonolo, was your family supportive of the career choice that you make, or the career choices, since it's not one, that you make?
Fully, they were fully supportive. I think even during the times when I felt like giving up, they were actually quite my support structure. And during those times, I don't think I would have made it this far without my family and my partner, honestly speaking. They have been my support structure from day one. That's one thing I can, I'm so proud of.
Wow, that's amazing. Ted?
Yo, fam, if I can just be honest with you, my mom was supportive of me just being a good Christian and not going forth with being a pastor. And, my mom dragged me actually to church. Like, she literally dragged me to church because I didn't want to go to church. I wanted to play soccer. I wanted to play Sunday soccer with Amagents, and I would make every excuse why I shouldn't go to church. And she finally dragged me to church, and it worked. Now I'm an extremist. So I believed in Jesus. And then I'm like, I'm ready to do everything that Jesus tells me to do, Then when I told my mom, listen, mom, I feel like I'm being called here into ministry. She was like, no, you can't say that. I just wanted you to just be a Christian and not go forth with being anything else. When it comes to business, every parent would actually want their son or daughter, their children, to do some sort of business. And my mom has been actually a fan of me, getting into business. And she actually has been a supportive structure, supporting me. With ministry, recently, my mom said that God actually spoke to her to say, I am really called. I'm like, for all this time, my mom didn't believe that actually I was just saying I was making things up, bro. But, yeah, so, my brother, on the other hand, has always been like, the gray, guy who never picks sides. He never says, I can do it or I can't do it. See, he will just say, and then he just keeps quiet. But my mom has been supportive ever since God talked to her. And in business, she has been my supporter, because she's the one I grew up with. Yeah, so she's been behind me all the time.
Wow, that's really amazing, man, to hear that your parents played a huge role and supported each and every one of you, because it is really very rare. And it's like our stories are similar. Like for me, I don't know actually. I know it's about you guys. It's like I'm also tempted to say, you know what? It's funny when we were young, and now for me, I found the same thing with me. But this is not about me. Lehohonolo, I want you to break down to us what you do basically. Like what does a day of a modeler/influencer look like? Like break it down for someone that doesn't know. What do you guys actually do?
Essentially, what we do is that we cultivate the audience of a brand and somewhat try to influence the people who are obviously, looking at our content. Let me actually walk you through my day from today, for example, because today was quite busy. Woke up, started off my morning off some oats, and was on my laptop for a while, just doing a bit of work. From there on, I had to create content for a European brand that sent me a couple of items here inside. So what I did is that I went to a specific area, a specific place, took an Uber to a skate park, created some content, and then I met up with a couple of friends, had some drinks, got back, and that was my day. We do quite a lot of content creation on a regular basis. Sometimes we're on set for hours and hours, sometimes days. But for the love of the game, if it was up to me, I think I'd want to shoot a series that never ends until I die. This is me. I think, Ted, you'd probably want to be in, a worship that never ends forever.
True.
And Thuso, you'd probably want to interview 1 million people and they would just never stop. You're just dropping content. You know what I'm saying?
True. Yes.
We're somewhat all cut from the same cloth and we all bleed from the same vein. So this is how I see it.
I love it. I want to ask you a question. Why do you think people don't take influencers or influencers/content creators/artists, people who are in the arts and entertainment industry serious? Why do you think is the reason?
I think that one of the reasons why it's frowned upon is because it is a very somewhat, it's quite a different path versus, what corporate has to offer. And with corporate, things move quite differently versus working in that kind of industry. And it's quite foreign, especially, given these days that, you find someone saying, hey, I'm going to become an artist and they focus on it because it's always a worry of, are you going to be able to make money with this? Were you going to take this? Were you able to provide for yourself or this and this and that? And at the end of the day, passion's a passion. So I think one of the reasons why it's frowned upon is because unfortunately it doesn't. For some people it does succeed, and for some they don't succeed. It's a very shaky industry, to be honest with you. It's very challenging too, and sometimes it does get some of these industries get saturated. Competition gets tough. There are seasons where you would have heavy pockets and season where you smell of pockets. So it's just a matter of balancing. And a lot of people some people look down upon it, or they, look at it differently because it's not every day that you find someone saying, hey, I do this. We don't have enough information about it, especially financially, to know exactly where some of these people stand, or what's happening, when is your next gig, when is your next payment, and all that. So I think because there's not that much tracking in that regard. Whenever people get into that kind of industry, it's like okay, we'll see what becomes of this. But at the end of the day, a passion is a passion.
Wow, you make very valid points about we don't have. I think I picked up we don't have enough information about the entertainment industry, and some people even go as far as saying because we are not regulated, that's why they really don't take us serious, because there's no body or a recognized institution where that's
the thing.
Because there's a lot of exploitation just because we don't have such things as body that regulates, or where we have someone that you can do work for free because of such things. People can take advantage of creatives just because we don't have a body that because workers have unions and stuff like that speaks, and they have rights and stuff like they have standard prices and stuff. We don't have such things, that a teacher, minimum wage of a teacher is this. Us, we can just be ripped off because the entertainment industry is not regulated. It doesn't have a body.
Yeah,
there's no representation.
You rank
just
yourself
have to
with what you've done
for yourself. You see, exactly.
But like I said, for love of the game, either way.
So Ted, I want to ask you the same question that I just asked Lehohonolo with his extensive explanation, which I really loved. Maybe first tell, because I don't think people know what kind of business you are in. I think we missed that. We hear you're in business, youth pastor, but I don't think you highlighted enough what business you do there in Botswana. And maybe start with that and break down what do you actually do, maybe as a minister and as a businessman.
Has made his money, his mind is so.
All right. Thank you once again, Thuso. Yeah, guys. I'm actually, started a company with a friend of mine, and we are into marketing and also rentals. So basically, we rent out cars, like, small cars. We're starting just with small cars now because the company is just at an infant, stage. We have polos that we're actually renting out for people who are coming into the city and who are actually wanting to run errands. So we are renting out those cars. It's a car rental, and we're looking forward to expanding into, other rentals, services that we can actually rent out, like tents, stage lighting, and also, musical instruments. But anyway, and on the marketing side, we are doing billboards. We actually construct billboards and do marketing for companies. That passive income has to be, there. As a pastor, I make sure I'm making my money while I'm sitting down reading the Bible. Praise the Lord.
Amen. Amen.
you have to make that money, or unless you are chilling here and hearing God. You know what I mean?
So Ted, I want to ask you, right? If someone wants to follow the same career path, whether it be ministry or maybe business, what would be your advice to them?
Do it only if you're called.
Wow.
Come on.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
If you want to go into ministry is not a career. It's not like something you can choose to actually, do. See, you are called to. That's why it's a calling. You are called to it. God calls you, and you can only do it if you're called. And if you're not, you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to actually be fake half of the time or most of the time, because you cannot be productive without being, called for that kind of assignment. I've seen many people get frustrated because they were not called for the post that they're actually in, and they don't see fruits because, it's not their line of calling. While you could actually find a guy who's just chilling and having fruits because they were called for that. It's what they're supposed to do, and they're enjoying it. So I'll say, if you want to become a pastor, do it only if you're called. If you heard God very well, do it then if you're called. Then when it comes to business, hey, you want to make money, then get into business. There is no one who is rich in this world without a business or a company. So you can't be rich outside, or you can't be really extra wealthy. You can't have that kind of income that Bill Gates has, or whoever that you might think of in South Africa that has a lot of money without owning a company. So if you are aspiring to actually want to be a millionaire, a billionaire, get into business, get into, trade, start trading. Yeah.
Wow. I like the fact that you said we must start trading. I like the fact that you speak about if you want to be wealthy, you have to be in company and ministry. Do it only when you are called. But I want you to check something while we go to Lehohonolo. Please check your audio. You were breaking a bit there. I couldn't really hear you. So please just make sure that you check your audio, whatever's happening on network or some stuff like that. I don't know how, but yeah, we couldn't hear you. You were breaking for a bit. Lehohonolo, what would you say?
Is it my audio?
Huh?
Is it my audio that's off?
No, it's not yours. It was Ted's audio that was breaking. Unless it's me, it's my network. I'm not sure. But I wanted to ask you, since I know you trade as well. I saw you clapping hands when Ted spoke about trading, and I know you are a fan of trading. But how does one? How would you advise one that wants to do all of the things that you do? Like more, people don't know you do marketing. You're a trader. You're in business. You're creative. Yeah. So what would you advise someone who wants to do the same thing as you're doing, maybe modeling or influencing?
I think the best advice I can probably give is to prioritize and plan out your days and just try to juggle things properly, because sometimes we just get so caught up in, you give one thing a bit more attention and then the other you don't give that much. So it's always best to just plan out your day. So, okay, fine, I'm going to dedicate 3 hours to creating content. I'm going to dedicate 3 hours to trading, and then the rest of the other 3 hours to cooking, and just plan out everything. It's sometimes I don't plan out my day, but most of the time I just really do think it out the day before and just, okay, I'm going to dedicate this much time on this. So it's just a matter of like prioritizing and just planning things out properly. It gets rough, I won't lie, because sometimes we forget things. Sometimes I could get very busy, and then next thing I'm checking, I'm like, oh, I was trading. And then I check and I'm like, yo, I almost forgot. Or I was supposed to submit something for a modeling a client, maybe content, and then I forgot because I was so caught up in something else. So it's hard to master like both, but it's just a matter of just taking your time and just being patient with yourself, because the only race that you'll ever be in is the race with yourself.
That's true.
Wow, I like that. The only race that you'll ever be in, it's a race with yourself. Right there in the comment section, that's quote of the day. I love it. I love it. Like that's really powerful. That really speaks to me as an individual, to race against myself and not look, because how often do we look at what other people are saying and compare ourselves? Like, and you forget that you have, God has charted a course for you. You have your own talent. And sometimes because we are looking at what other people are doing, we are racing with them instead of focusing on what we're good at, and then we become successful. I always say to people, right, in regards to success, this is how I define success, actually. I say for me, success is purpose fulfilled. And my success has nothing to do with getting back at people. My purpose has nothing to do with showing people that, yeah, you hated on me, you did this. My purpose has everything to do with impacting the world that I'm in and changing people's lives. And I think that's the attitude that we should carry. I think you provoked those thoughts for me. So kudos to you, man, Lehohonolo. I want to go to Ted. And
yes, sir,
maybe
yes,
both of you, Ted, both of you. What does being a businessman mean to you?
What does it mean? Wow, that's an interesting question. Sure.
Yeah, it is a very
It's actually deep. Yeah, it's actually deep. Okay, let me give it a go. For me, being a business person means, solving problems. First of all, solving the problem of unemployment, solving the problem of poverty. So basically, that's what, when I thought about getting into business, what it actually meant for me. It has never been about, although, we actually, at the end of the day, we want to, pocket something so we could, live comfortably. But it's been about other people, other people. I'm talking about my family. I'm talking about my friends who are actually graduates and they don't have jobs, who are actually out there searching for something to do. Just the other day, I found out that just 2 kids hanged themselves. So, and it's all because of depression, man. Actually, in this time, there's a lot of depression going on. Also in South Africa, I know the same as well in Botswana here. So most of it is tied to, purposelessness and also joblessness, that people are not doing anything. So visionaries and businessmen are out there to actually be helpers, to help people, find what they should do with their lives. When you start a business, when you start a company, it's not about you. It's about also giving somebody what to do, It's about employment, helping the government to actually fight the struggle. Because people say the struggle is real, but what I say is more real is business people who are actually, starting businesses and making sure that actually, providing food for other families. So it's not about ourselves, it's about another person.
I don't want to add to that. I'm gonna go straight to Lehohonolo. I just don't want to add to that. That was just too powerful for me. So yeah, Lehohonolo, what does being a businessman mean to you?
Ooh, tough one, eh? Very tough one. What does being a businessman mean to me? Apart from the money, being a businessman for me means to inspire and to somewhat build new paths for people, create possibilities. Because people like us were venturing into paths that people have never heard of. Some of them are new. So we obviously have to somewhat confidently, swiftly move through it and do our best, because there are going to be so many other people that follow. And the business that we're in, unfortunately, not a lot of people are in it. For example, being an influencer or a brand, or even being, for example, Ted, you're an influencer pastor. You know, it's not every day that you hear that there's a pastor who's an influencer. And there will be others that follow in your footsteps who are inspired by you and who will follow your methods, your business strategy. So what I believe in is that the way we're moving at the moment is us obviously pathing away for what people are going to somewhat mimic or try to do in the future. It's somewhat building new roads. That's how I see business. You're creating new paths and making life simpler for people around you. And it's not always, it doesn't always have to do with providing a service or anything. It can be anything, as long as it gives back to people.
Come on.
You guys today, yo. I'm almost in tears as you guys are speaking. I've never thought what I'm feeling today as you guys are speaking, because yeah, man, like I hear what Lehohonolo is speaking about, being a pioneer, you know, starting new paths, leading the way, carving a path, you know, creating, you know, breaking boundaries. That's what I'm hearing. And Ted is speaking about, you know, and we know depression is a huge thing. And I always say that what someone wrote on social media saying, we thought, like, we used to judge our uncles who used to drink a lot and sit at the corner. We didn't understand why they were such drunkards. But now that we've grown up and we can see and understand the socio-economic issues that we face as Africa, you know, and I believe we here are the youth that's going to bring solutions. That's what I'm hearing to what's happening in South Africa. And it speaks to that, man, that, you know, you guys are solution driven. You guys want to inspire. You guys want to change people's lives. And this is what Under Construction is about. You know, we aim to inspire our viewers. We aim, you know, to help kids from disadvantaged background, you know, and to say it's possible, you can do it. And hearing your stories, guys, and hearing what you guys are saying, I'm like, this is why we began this path. This is why we took this path. And kudos to you guys. This is really, really powerful. I'd like to ask you, maybe let me first start with Lehohonolo. What influences or shapes the way you think, the way you do things, who you are today? What are the influences? Is it mentors? Is it your mom? Is it books? What has influenced the way you think and the way you are and the kind of human being you are today?
Yeah, these questions are very tough, eh? You know what? It's a very tricky question, because influence goes a very long way. I could say that someone like Angelo influences me. At the same time, I could say my mother influences me, or my sister. Honestly speaking, I believe in my life, there's multiple influences, different types of people who influence me. And each of them influence me in a different way. It's very subjective. It could go as small as a conversation such as this, We could be having a conversation like this, and tomorrow I'm feeling very cultivated and I'm treating things differently. I'm approaching things very differently. Or it could be something that my mother kept doing for so many years that somewhat shaped how I think and influenced me. So in my world, I don't just have one person who I see as an influencer. There are quite a number of people, especially those people who are dear to my heart, are quite influential in my life because they play such a big role.
Wow. Ted, this guy said he's a man of many influences, and he reminds me of an example one of my pastors makes every day, that even when you go to gym, it's not that one thing, it's multiple things that you do. And he said, even in life, when you develop your life, you build it by many things. It's not just one thing, it's books, it's mentors, it's research. You build your life. And I like what he says, because it's very true even for my life to say, you know what, it's not only one person that influences me. In the media space, it's people like Anelem Daughter. In Christianity, it's people like Bishop Mosa, and in business, it's people like Theo Baloyi, DJ's Boo, So it's many influences that and the books that I read. So what would you say shapes or molds the way you think, the person that you are and the person that you become?
Sure. A lot of things, Thuso, honestly. Firstly, when it comes to ministry, there are people that actually are an influence. That would be my bishop in Francistown, who actually influenced me to pray more than 2 hours. Yeah, I know, right? So now I feel like 2 hours is not praying until I have prayed 2 hours. Anyway, yeah. And Bishop David Oyedepo is one of the biggest influences in my life. They've shaped the way I think and the way of like approaching ministry. And one of the influences that I cannot deny is from River Bible Institute in East London. And, by a good, close pastor friend of mine, Pastor Jade, and when it comes to actually, the youth ministry, he really impacted my life. I began to actually want to model the youth ministry that I am, founding here in Botswana after their ministry, because it has so much influence in my life. And lastly, when it comes to business, there's a guy called Grant Cardone. I think probably you have heard of him. He's an American.
Yes,
and 10X. Yeah, he's a 10X guy. He's quite a charismatic guy. I get influenced by people who actually have the same personalities as me, because I can relate more with them when it comes to business. And there's a pastor here whom I'm actually going to his church now in Royal Assembly called BF Ramogapi. He's one of the people actually who influences me a lot in business. He's the one who actually encouraged me to start trading, to start actually getting into business and doing stuff that will actually help me to fulfill my God-given purpose. So at the end of it all, there are many influences to what actually we are becoming, where we're influenced by the voices that are surrounding us, which we actually choose. We have a choice to listen to those voices, So those are the voices that I chose to actually allow to influence my life, Yeah.
Ted, you remind me of a quote that says, you don't get to choose who your family is, but you get to choose who influences you and who becomes your friends. And I think what you said speaks to that quote. And I'm glad, I think all of us are influenced by multiple people. And there's no one influence that we can say, because we do multiple stuff. And in this life thing, in order to build, whether it's finance, family, church, business, being a creative, there's just multiple, those are multiple facets, those are different facets. So it makes sense that we will be in that area, will be mentored by so and so, even though they are not close to you, you are reading their book or you are listening to their motivational talk, and so as subsequently that follows, and the one that goes and that goes. So yeah, I wanted to ask you guys that if there's one thing that, or is there a thing that you wish, when you look back in your life so far, that you wish you did differently? Anyone who can go.
Wait, could you mind rephrasing that question again?
I said, is there anything that you in your life wish you did differently? And if there is, what's that thing?
Is there anything that I wish I did differently in my life? Yeah. I wish that I bought on the rand dollar back then. Because wow, the rand is doing so weak, and I could have made money from that. I'm just joking. If there's one thing I wish I did. To be honest with you, I can't answer that question, but obviously there are personal things that I wish I did differently that I can't share on this video, but I think most of them are personal, if anything. Yeah. Usually those kind of things are dear to the heart.
Okay, I do understand. Ted, do you mind sharing?
I'm Legends.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, scripture says that 8:28, bro. All things work together for the good of them that love the Lord, So Amen. When I look back and I'm like, if it wasn't for this happening to me, I wouldn't been here, I wouldn't have done this or that. If it wasn't for me failing here, it actually wouldn't have led me to become the person that I am today. So everything, I kind of like say that actually I have no regrets, because the failures that I had were actually a lesson enough to actually push me forward and not kill me. I began to understand that nothing happens for a reason, So the failing, I used it to propel myself forward and learn a good lesson from those. So man, I know, would have actually wanted to change some few things, but I say, they happened. So we had to go through them one way or the other. So I appreciate what I had to go through. I wouldn't even change a bit about my life. No regrets.
Speaking about failure, actually, love it as well. Speaking about failure, because you touched on failure and it has shaped the person that you are. What are some of the difficulties that you found on your journey as a pastor, as a businessman, that you found on that path, the stones that trip you up, and how did you overcome them?
Hey, Thuso, man, when you grow up in a church that tells you that, you don't have to go into business as a pastor, then when you find that, hey, you really have to go into business because they can't really give you the stuff that you want. They can't pay your bills. They can't, buy you that Gucci suit that you want. You know what I'm saying? Then you realize that, master, I think I made a mistake. But anyway, yeah, the biggest challenge that fighting against common views of what is expected to you, as expected from you as a pastor, to be mediocre and not get into business, the stuff that actually the world's view of a pastor, not God's view, the world's view of a pastor, that actually I fought that a lot, because I could not wear beanies at church because I was always on a suit. Then when a change hit my heart, I'm like, what? I don't have to die because of religion. I don't have to be somebody else because of religion. I'm a happy person. I laugh a lot. I said, I can't. So I quit, and I chose to actually do God's calling and business God's way, not man's way. So that's where I am today. So the biggest challenge was, going against the status quo, going against religion. That is the biggest thing that I had to actually find.
Wow. And I think everyone that's watching this and everyone here, me, you, and Lehohonolo, can agree. There's one thing you do is you laugh a lot, like you say, like you are a very happy person, like you.
Yes.
Even now, look at you, you're smiling already, and you want to laugh. But I want to take the same question to Lehohonolo to say, what have been some of the difficulties that you've faced, and things that you have found, the difficulties you have found along the road, and how have you managed to overcome them? Briefly, yeah.
This question. You really set them out, eh? Honestly speaking, it was just the challenges I faced the most was staying consistent. It's very, very rough to be consistent, when you keep doubting yourself, when you surround yourself with people who are doubting you. And I was fortunate enough to grow up in a home where I had the full foundation, full support from my entire family. But obviously, I realized that if I didn't have such a foundation, I would have probably given up a long time ago because, during such parts, you tend to run out of steam, you tend to get tired, you tend to feel like you want to give up. I mean, I sometimes feel like, oh my goodness, am I actually getting somewhere? Am I really making something out of myself? Is this going to help me financially? Is it going to make sense? You know what I'm saying? So those are the few things that I deal with a lot or dealt with, and some still do deal with, and those are the challenges that I face in my case. But yeah, in terms of failure, I can't tell you. I failed many times, many times, from trying to get gigs, trying to work with clients. And the truth is, every time I failed, I just got up and told myself that, you know what, let me just keep trying. I'm gonna just try to get it right and just keep failing. You know what's crazy about a passion, right? Is that if it truly is a passion, even if you fail 1,000 times, which let's say that equates to 50 years, if I was that person, I think I'd still be going at it and keep trying. If I fail at this a million times, I'll still keep trying until I get it right. At some point, I will get it right. We're all popcorn. We don't, pop at the same time. You might find, you get it right 20 years from now and it pays off. You're a master at it because you failed so many times. You might find that you try tomorrow and then it works out perfectly. So failure will always be there, even when you succeed. It creeps up to teach you a lesson. But yeah, that's how I see it.
Wow, that's amazing when you speak about failure and consistency. I think most of us struggle with consistency, and as well, we move from failure to failure. That's how we grow. And we are not failures, but as you experiment, certain things don't work, certain things work, and now you get to know as a business guy, as a content creator, wherever you are, as a pastor, wherever in your career, that this doesn't work, this works. It's because you have failed, so you have more experience, you grow more. So, what are some of maybe for people who don't know? What are some of the brands or people that you've worked with? I know you have a billboard somewhere. Was it Zambia? I think you have a billboard in Zambia of yourself. Where have you been? What are some of the achievements that you achieved? Briefly, because we're really running out of time. Like, who have you worked with? Yes. Yes, I'm asking you.
Wait, are you asking? Sorry.
Yes.
Sadly, I've only been in South Africa. The furthest I've gone was Lesotho. I went to Lesotho once to shoot an ad for Mercedes-Benz. But apart from that, the brands I've worked with, just a few household name brands, if I can put it like that, like HP, Maxosa, Puma, DSTV, Edgar's, just to name a few. But it's been a good run. It's really, really been a good run. Frankly, I didn't expect things to be like this. I remember I used to pray about these things. I had a list with all the brands that I wanted to work with, and I remember Mercedes was one of them. And I even had it as a status on Facebook before I even became a model. I want to work with Mercedes, and the fact that it happened was just so unreal. I thought I was in a movie when I was shooting it. It felt, yeah. I was ready to die.
Oh, it's good to hear. Yeah, it's good to hear the way you're so humble about it. Just a few household names, but I love the fact that you work with Maxosa. That's the one that stands out. I love South African brands. I'm all about local, bro. Like, shout out to you and the work that you're doing, and as well, shout out to Ted and the work that he's doing with his current company and being a pastor. We have unfortunately run out of time, but guys, I know the future looks bright. We're gonna reconnect. We're gonna walk this journey together as young people who want the change in South Africa. And to everyone that's watching this channel, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. I think we've learned a lot from the individuals, the stories that they've told. We had fun. We were inspired. And don't forget, every Sunday, 5 p.m., we are here on YouTube. And click on the subscription button, like, share, and tell your family, tell your mama, tell your dogs about it. This has been Under Construction SA, and I'm your host, Thuso, and we are out.